to succeed in a certain company or not depends on factors like senior management support, drive, having the right motivation, and company culture. This is another case. I've been at clients where they want to do Agile, but they're mid-level managers who have the silos, so who are managing the architects. We have a pool of architects, or we have a pool of testers, or a pool of web service developers. They're not willing to share their resources. That's a big problem. You can see here, if you're not willing to share your resources, then who is familiar with component teams versus feature teams? Same person. Cool, what? Basically, what you want to do in Agile is you want to be able that features, you can verify the feature, you can see whether it's done within one team. So you don't want unnecessary dependency between teams. However, if the silo managers are not sharing their resources, so I need to go into component teams, then for every feature I need to go to another team or several other teams to verify whether the feature is done. So it's pretty inefficient. So you would say that a company that really wants to do Agile, basically, would top management, the CIO, CEO, would say to their managers, share your resources, change the model. So another, what does Scrum fall? Or what does Scrum fail? So, in a typical enterprise, you've got three parts of the process. You've got the planning process, the budgeting process. Well, this can go on for a long time, I can tell you. Then you've got the game. Yeah, you've got pre-game, game, post-game. You've got the game, which is the actual software development. And then you've got putting things into release, which can also be quite time-consuming. If you do so-called water, Scrum fail, which means you only optimize your development, then yeah, you can win some time. You can go from 12 months of development to 4 months. So I have coached teams from scratch, where basically in 2 months we delivered what the business said normally would take a year. So great. But as you can see, it's still a small part of the optimization you can do. So if you really want to optimize your value stream, if you really want to improve your time to market, at a certain point in time, you need to look beyond software development. And for that, you need senior management support. So if you start optimizing software development with one team, at a certain point in time, you're going to hit bottlenecks. And then you need to look further into the organization. And then probably you'll find out whether the organization really wants to be agile or not. Have a vision. Kotter again, in the same model. It's very important that you have a vision. It can't be just, we're going to do agile. Yeah. So why do you want to do Agile? What do you want to achieve? It's not about Agile. Agile is it's a mindset, but you do it for a reason. Yeah, you don't do it because it's Agile. Yeah. So, which framework are you going to use? Maybe you're going to start with Scrum. Maybe you want to do Scrum Man, or maybe you want to do one of the other frameworks. Yeah. And where do you start? With practices do you start? Do you start just with Scrum? Do you start with Scrum and Extreme Programming? So, you need to have a vision. Well, this is a little bit taken from Scrum Bot. I'm not sure if someone was asking about matrices here before. Jeff Sutherland has a number of matrices. Yeah. Jeff Sutherland, creator of Scrum, or the one who put it on paper, because actually it was created by two Japanese guys. First level of Agile is Agile but. So we do Agile, but we do UATs. Okay. Well, we do Agile, but we sign off our user stories before. These are clear Agile buts. These are the smells that Sunil was talking about. Yeah. Then you got just okay Agile. Yeah. It's just okay. It's Agile, without the buts. But it's more like doing Agile, filling in the boxes. Yeah. Then you got very good Agile. Yeah. It's a bit better than just okay Agile. And then finally you got hyper-productive Agile. Hyper-productive Agile only you get after a while when people have been working together, and they have gone onto the road of self-organization. So they start to improve continuously. The differences are huge. Agile but may have some benefits over waterfall. You got some risk reduction. You got some visibility, higher visibility. You have ability to deal with change a bit more. And if you're lucky, then you're able to deliver a bit earlier. But the benefits over waterfall, they are sort of constrained. They may not be more than 20–30%. Yeah. If you look at hyper-productive Agile, then we're talking about comparison of maybe 400% plus compared to waterfall. So there is a lot to gain, to stay away from Agile but and to go onto a road towards real hyper-productivity. Actually, research shows that only 10% of teams, they go into hyper-productive Agile. Has to do with their environment, has to do with how much they're empowered, has to do with constraints that the organization puts there. So, don't underestimate change. Yeah? This is one of the causes of failed implementations of Agile. So, it takes 2 to 3 years for most companies to transform successfully to Agile. To such a level that you can really say, the company for a large part is Agile. Yeah, they won't go back to waterfall. Yeah? But in a lot of cases, we'll see that companies after the first success, they think, we can do it. We're Agile already. Yeah? And that's usually where you see it going wrong. So a lot have been invested in Agile because it is major change. Old habits, they come back. This is what I often hear from clients, not every client. I'll be dogging the whole week, so I throw these a little bit of it. We need a template for that. These are the typical, these are voiced in a different way, but these are the typical smells, where you can sort of smell the waterfall culture, or what's still remaining from it. We need to write a guide for that. Heard that as well. Or we need a tool to calculate velocity. It was a very interesting one. Well, velocity is just, there is a tool to calculate velocity. Who knows the tool to calculate velocity? Sorry? Calculator or your brain, yeah. Velocity is just, adding up, 2 numbers. But when people ask for a tool, they're still in their waterfall mindset. Yeah. People asking for metrics, still, it's okay. Yeah. I mean, you've been doing waterfall, your organization has been doing waterfall, but it's still, a sign that you're still in the waterfall mindset. We need a process for that. Yes, there is a process. It's called Scrum. Well, this cannot work here. Yeah. I hear that a lot. Usually I can tell them, actually it works here because I've already done it in 3 projects here, so it doesn't work here. So these are all factors that sort of slow down the Enterprise Agile Transformation. we've always done it like this. And then I ask, yeah, have you been successful in it? So you sort of need, when you're an agile coach and when you're working, with clients in their organization, and you're working with the various levels of their organization, the various departments, etc., the various silos. These are the items basically that should trigger you. Dependencies. We need a project manager, because the project manager is the only person who can deal with dependencies. We have an intelligent team, but dependencies is something special. So you need a PMP for that. So one person must be responsible. That's always the assumption, because they want to have one person to point fingers at. Or let's do integration testing at the end, because it's more efficient. Goes against the principles will turn into a risk and will turn into an issue. I've seen it many times, that basically we were able to deliver. I was coaching a new team, totally new to Scrum. We were able to speed up software delivery. Yeah. However, every dependency turned into an issue. Infrastructure late, enterprise test environment late, etc., etc. So if you do want to do it successfully, make sure you got champions in various areas. This is coming from Ken Swaber, the other creator of Scrum. We're talking about Scrum. Basically, if you do a project, an agile project, your first agile project in an enterprise, you're basically doing two things. Yeah. On one hand, you're delivering your product, and on the other hand, you start the change of the organization. So every project will run into problems. And some of these problems, they have nothing to do with agile. They are organizational impediments. And if these impediments are not resolved, for example, that silo managers don't want to share their resources, then every project is going to run into the same impediments. So in order for an agile transformation to work successfully, you need to address two tracks. One is the track which is focused on delivering your product, and the other track is the track focused on changing your organization. Yeah? Whenever there's an organizational impediment, senior management needs to make a choice. Do we want to resolve this or not? Yeah? Make sure you create a quick win. This is often what we do in pilots. Yeah? The mistake sometimes made is that the pilot is a project that doesn't really matter too much. So, and yeah, you can say, yeah, we've done it, But if it doesn't really matter enough, it's not going to convince people. So make sure you take something that matters, but also make sure that it's, that it's a fair challenge, but it's not a combination of all types of challenges you can take. When I did my first agile project, actually I took it over. It was new technology, it was a new team, it was a new client. There was a lot new. Yeah. So basically, it was too much. Yeah. Too many complications. No stable development infrastructure, etc., etc. So actually, now suddenly I found myself turning around agile because it wasn't prepared in a proper way. So pick something which does matter. And pick something, with some complexity, but pick that strategically. Yeah. At Cafe, we picked a project, a mobile project, which was the first mobile project for Cafe, and it was something that the organization had been waiting for quite a while. But it had a good size, and we had limited dependencies. Spread the success, very important. So, if you have a success, yeah, and your first project should be a success, communicate about it. Yeah. So, yeah, celebrate it, but communicate about it, and then strategically pick your next projects. Every time a little bit more complex or a little bit in a different area of the organization. So you want to spread it horizontally in the organization, and you also want to increase it in complexity. So at a certain point in time, you want to scale. You want to move from projects, with one team. You want to move to projects with more than one team, or you want to move to projects with suppliers. Distributed agile. Those are not things where you want to start, yeah? Because if you start there, then you may just, have picked too many complexities. So you need to have a strategy in picking your projects. Very important. What I often see with clients is they get in a coach, like myself. You've delivered a couple of projects successfully, because you were able to rally senior management and to get their attention. And then after a couple of projects, I think, yeah, we're there. We can do it. Let's scale, yeah, or let's work with new suppliers, etc. And then often you see that the initial success it will turn into failure. And then the verdict is Agile doesn't work, or Agile only works for small projects, etc., etc. Or Agile only works sometimes. That's not the case. But it takes 2 to 3 years before you really can do it by yourself. Don't change Agile before trying it. Very important. But don't come up with the buts before you really tried it in the proper way. Don't change it before you really understand it. Yeah? I was at another conference last week. There was someone who had a very creative solution. The person actually was, I think, was a certified Scrum Master. And the story was like this. We have 89% user stories accepted. So we have a problem. He had a new team. So 89% of user stories were accepted. It was not 100%. So there was a problem. And it was distributed agile. And the person found a good solution, he thought. Let's create templates. So the development team can put their questions into a template and send it to the product owner. Well, there are several flaws there. I mean, if you hear the word template, then it should trigger you. It's not immediately, face-to-face communication. So it's not immediately following the Agile Manifesto. You may have templates for some things, yeah, moving something to production, but having a template, to communicate with your product owner doesn't sound very agile. But the other thing was 89% for a new team is not bad at all. Jeff Sutherland calls, having more than 80% of your forecast accepted, calls that a successful sprint. So basically, there was not a real problem, and definitely this solution was not a real solution. This is Kotter's model of change. So it's interesting to look at it if you're interested in organizational change. Now, one of the things here is that you can't skip stages. Yeah. So it's like CMM, capability maturity model. You can't jump from level 0 to level 4 in 1 week. So here also, you can't jump from the first step to final step. And yeah, some companies can do it faster. Salesforce moved to Agile in 6 months. But Salesforce is a company that only does software. And Salesforce had an approach, full support from top management. And on day 1, they put a Scrum guide on the table of every developer, and they said, read this tonight. From tomorrow morning on, you're going to use Scrum. But that's not something that a lot of companies can do. So, establish a sense of urgency. So there needs to be enough urgency, as explained. Yeah? Either pain or opportunity. Create a guiding coalition. You can't do it alone. Yeah? In a larger organization, it can't just be an agile coach. You can get some success there, but without champions, it's going to fail. Yeah, make sure you got a clear shared vision. Also on the framework. Why do you pick a certain framework? Yeah. So how do you want to start? Yeah. Communicate the vision. Communication is essential in transformation, in any type of organizational change. Empower people to act on the vision. Yes, it needs to start with empowerment. Empowerment is part of Agile. So, like Sunil also said this morning, you need to create a safe environment. Yeah? It's not going to work immediately in every area. Yeah? So, the difference between Agile and Waterfall is, in Waterfall, you see your problems when you do your UAT, yeah, 80% of the project. In Agile, you see it in your first iteration. Yeah? So, problems just show up earlier. Those are problems that have nothing to do with Agile. Those are just, organizational impediments. Consolidate and build, yeah, and make sure that the change is fully embedded. So don't stop the drive, don't stop the attention before really the whole organization is able to do Agile. Some takeaways. I see that I'm talking fast as usual. So, yeah, Enterprise Agile Transformation is major change. Don't underestimate it. Yeah, and you do it for a reason. Yeah, it's not about Agile. It's about delivering shorter time to market. It's about delivering in a more economic way. It's about skipping all that functionality that no one uses. It takes 2 to 3 years. Yeah. It's not just a framework or methodology change, it's a mindset. There's a very different mindset between, being able to escape for 9 months behind your desk or whatever, or having to show up every month and, and being evaluated on working software. It requires learning, yeah, but it also requires a lot of unlearning. Yeah. All those thoughts about, oh, I need a template. Yeah, or I need a tool. So that needs to go. It requires an approach for organizational change. Because yeah, you can coach a team, a software development team on Scrum or Kanban. And that may work in a safe environment. Basically, they started to do agile practices. So if before 2001, before the Agile Manifesto, if I had to turn around Waterfall, I would put the client team and the supplier team in one room. Now they call that co-location. So some practices already existed. Yeah. So you need to break down the silos. And that's basically what I'm doing at various clients. So it's it's a long journey. Questions? Any questions? Yeah?
Can you go back to the slides which is regarding the spelling factors, the recognized scopes?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm not saying that, but if you want to review the slides with your Agile coach, then maybe you're doing micromanagement. So if I have a client and they say, well, we want to review your slides. First of all, I don't like slides. I like whiteboards. That's the first thing. And second of all, yeah, if you start with micromanaging, then I think maybe the relationship is not that good or the trust is not that good. So review. If you look at what Deming said, so Deming is the father of quality management, etc., etc. Deming said you can't build in quality at the end. You need to integrate it. So yes, of course, review is good. Pair programming is good, etc., etc. But quality needs to build into your development process. You can't put quality in at the end. Yeah. So if you need a UAT for confidence, then you're not doing Agile properly. Yeah? I mean, if you do Agile properly, you should have working software every sprint. Yeah? Every iteration, let's say like that. So, and if you do it every iteration, and if the business is continuously involved, then there is no need to do a UAT. Yeah? It's just a waste. Yeah? Because, I mean, like I said, you can't build in quality at the end. So, Agile is built, you know, to avoid surprises. So, all these items here, you know.
So here the slides means the work or the like we have a ceremony like sprint review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a, yes, yeah. The term, the sprint review term, I'm not too happy with that term actually. So the demo term is actually worse. You know, let's do a demo. I mean, the demo, you know, it's working software. It's not a demo. You know, it's a working product. So yeah, it's called sprint review. Yeah, and yeah, you sort of you review how the sprint has been going, and actually you're basically checking what is done and what is not done. But to be honest, you know, if you do Agile properly, then you have already done that because you use early feedback. So if you wait with your user stories, if you wait till your last day, you know, whether the product owner is going to say yes, okay, or not okay, then you're not doing Agile properly.
Feedback can come only after review.
Yeah, but in Agile we do review continuously. Yeah? We have continuous involvement of the customer. Yeah? And hopefully they look at other things than slides. Hopefully they look at software. Yeah? So that's my point. Yeah? So,
The thing is about the process. Can we do the Scrum or anything without any process?
sorry?
Can we do the Scrum, follow the Agile methodology without any process?
No, it's not. No, actually, Scrum has a process. So yes, sure, but the thing is that if you look at Scrum, for example, just give an example. Scrum has a low-level ceremony. Yeah. So if I compare Scrum with PMP or Prince2, and I'm still Prince2 certified, so I'm not using it, but I'm still certified. Then you see, you know, that the Scrum guide is 16 pages. Yeah. If you take the front and the back from the Scrum guide, you've got 14 pages. So if you look at PMP, I forgot to count. I think it's got something like 59 process areas or expertise areas. So yeah, you need process, yeah, sure, but you know, Scrum shows that a very basic process, yeah, that is not too prescriptive, yeah, that is pretty simple on paper, but as said, you know, hard in practice, that's sufficient. Yeah. So you don't need an additional process on top of Scrum or Kanban. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Get there. So a company that just says, you know, yeah, well, you know, my competition is doing Agile, let's do Agile, has a high chance of failure. So you need to have a vision. Vision, for example, could also be, well, vision strategy could also be, you know, hey, you know, we pick Scrum because Scrum is the most used framework, and that may be a good argument. However, that is just a starting point. So my colleague there was combining Scrum with Kanban because they hit a plateau with Scrum. Personally, I think that is because they use specialists. So, I mean, if you use specialists, then you get bottlenecks. It has nothing to do with Scrum. It has to do with, you know, with what the company or the CTO has selected. I mean, if I use testers and I use developers separately, then I'm going to hit bottlenecks. Yeah. So it's not supposed to be that way. So yeah. So for that reason, you need to have a vision. Yeah. Why you do it? Yeah.
Just want to hear some example when you try to work with the.
Yeah. Well, vision could be vision could be based on current pains and basically resolving those pains. So it could be our current time to market for products is you know, in a lot of cases 12 months. That's way too long. So we can't compete. our value stream is inefficient. So if you look at value stream mapping, for example, then you can you look at the actual activities that add value, and you look at the activities that don't add value. So for example, if project planning takes a day, but it takes 2 months to get your plan approved, then basically those 2 months, most of it, is waste. So one of the views may be, that you want to look at your value stream, that you want to optimize your value stream. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? I had a question here from someone that said in the previous session that said, well, how do we deal with support and software development? Yeah, it could be more efficient to separate that. Yeah. At the same time, I mean, as long as you make it visible, and as long as you make it visible what goes into support and what goes into new functionality, there is no problem. Yeah. As long as management accepts it, that part of your philosophy or whatever will go into support. Task switching. They switch from project to project, and they get managed by priorities. So that's a model that you want to avoid. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thanks. I'd like to thank you for your attention, and I hope you learned something from it. Okay.
มีเรียนรู้สเปกทีฟก่อน